Thank you for joining us as we hit the halfway mark of the week. I'm Jurnee Taylor. Here are the top stories we're following for you now at noon. A pair of high-profile meetings in Central Arkansas last night. The latest on the Little Rock Housing Commission and what's next for the Bryant mayor's office. Plus, a potential government shutdown is becoming more realistic. We verify who still gets paid when the government is out of work. And student loan payments start again in less than a week. A little later, a closer look at a new program that can help make that payment easier to manage. But first, meteorologist Simone Thomas is in for meteorologist Nathan Scott. Simone, another warm day on tap for our hump day, huh?
Yeah, Jurnee, we've already passed the 90-degree mark here in Little Rock. 92 in both Little Rock and Pine Bluff. A little bit farther north, Conway at 90 even. Already starting to break into the 90s. That's going to be the general trend today. As you can see farther north, Mount Home a little bit cooler in the upper 70s. There is a disturbance off to our north that's kind of passing through to the northeast, bringing some cloud cover to the north, but farther south and more of central Arkansas, we're looking to stay dry with some sunny skies through the day. Overall, looking to peak in the middle 90s. Now, if you stick around, I'll have a look at how the rest of the week is going to look coming up in the second. So make sure you stick around.
All right, thank you, Simone. Well, a body found on the bank of the Mississippi River in West Memphis has now been identified as 21-year-old Jurnee Taylor. Taylor was reported missing on September 10th after she disappeared while celebrating her 21st birthday on a Memphis riverboat cruise with 3 friends. Right now, Memphis police say there was no foul play involved. The city of Little Rock is now down 2 commissioners after last night's Housing Commission meeting. Little Rock city directors will soon have to replace newly open seats on the Metro Housing Commission. Last night, they fired the commissioners after alleged mismanagement and financial problems. Ashley Godwin explains why efforts to save their jobs ultimately failed.
It had received a score of 0 on management.
The Little Rock Board of Directors held a public hearing to allow the Housing Authority commissioners to plead their case on why they shouldn't be removed from their position. This comes after a HUD report listing several issues within the organization, including missing audits and millions of dollars unaccounted for. The first commissioner to speak was Kerry Wright. He was brought to the commission in March this year, which he says excludes him from the allegations that date back several years.
As to your September 14th letter, I was not here in 2018, 19, 20, or 21.
Commissioners Lita Anthony and Lee Lindsay were represented by one attorney who argued against the allegations, first stating that they are against this meeting and they should allow witnesses.
We object to the manner of this procedure as not being grounded in the principles of fairness and equity and not allowing my clients due process.
The attorney argued his clients are not guilty in these allegations set forth by HUD and the city, and he argued there were outside circumstances that prevented them from getting HUD the audits.
But you don't change the culture of an organization overnight.
The board voted to keep Wright as a commissioner, but removed Anthony and Lindsay.
Next, we file an appeal.
Well, what we're going to do is we're going to get down to work, roll our sleeves up, and fix what needs to be fixed. Get our financials in order.
In Little Rock, Ashley Godwin, THV 11 News.
Also developing right now, we will soon learn who will lead the city of Bryant after the former mayor resigned last week. The city council revealing last night that it will name an interim mayor tomorrow. Councilmember Rob Rodell took over many of the mayoral duties at Tuesday's meeting, explaining after who could have that job long term, with Mayor Alan Scott's last day set for the end of this week.
Thursday evening, we will name an interim mayor. That meeting's at 6 o'clock on Thursday. We'll take applications or suggestions at that meeting and actually talk to those people.
The council plans to decide on an interim mayor that night, but a long-term solution will come in a special election in March. As for right now, in the mayor's absence, documents that need his signature are being pushed to other city council members. Arkansas Attorney General Tim Griffin has rejected the proposed initiative to exempt feminine hygiene products from the state sales tax. Griffin says the language of the title submitted is too ambiguous. He says products like soaps and deodorants could be included in the proposal beyond its targeted items like tampons or pads. The bill will need to be clarified and refiled in order to begin gathering signatures. And new at noon, it was just announced that Texas A&M quarterback Connor Wigman is going to miss the rest of the season with a foot injury. He was first listed as day-to-day after x-rays appeared negative during their game last week against Auburn, but later tests showed a fracture. The Hogs play A&M this Saturday at AT&T Stadium in Arlington. The game will be at 11 on SEC Network. Well, tonight, 7 Republican presidential candidates are getting ready for the second GOP debate. Trump won't be on the stage with other GOP 2024 presidential hopefuls in California because he's skipping the event to campaign in Michigan. Governor Ron DeSantis of Florida, former Vice President Mike Pence, and former South Carolina Governor Nikki Haley are among the 7 candidates who qualify for the second debate. Former Arkansas Governor Asa Hutchinson did not qualify. On Capitol Hill, House Republicans voted to advance 4 conservative spending bills yesterday in a display of unity that likely does not bring Congress closer to preventing a looming government shutdown by the weekend when government funding is set to expire. A government shutdown could be bad news for veterans in need, according to the VA. Their payouts for health care benefits and cemetery insurance would continue, but other important programs like some mental health services would not.
We will not be in a position to do a lot of the outreach that has characterized the last year under the PACT Act. Our in-person contact centers at our VBA, our Veteran Benefits Administration regional offices, will be closed.
With a stopgap bill headed to the House, the hope is to see similar VA support shown in last spring's bipartisan bill between President Biden and Kevin McCarthy. If you or a loved one is struggling, you can call the 24/7 Veterans Crisis Hotline by dialing 988, then pressing 1. Now, there are other programs that can lose money when the government shuts down as well. And as that clock is ticking with just days, too, for the Congress to agree on a budget deal, it comes down to a fight over money. But we know you're asking at this point, how does it impact your money? Abby Larico joins us now to verify.
We've been keeping an eye on internet search trends related to the government shutdown and seeing particular interest in how a shutdown might affect the financial help so many rely on: VA benefits, unemployment, and Social Security payments. Would a government shutdown interrupt these benefits? We turn to these sources to verify. We reached out to the Department of Veterans Affairs, and a spokesperson said at this point they can tell us no, and the VA would continue to process and deliver benefits, including compensation, pension, education, and housing. Healthcare would also be unimpacted. But we're also told outreach programs, regional offices, and other people-facing benefits would not be available in a shutdown. No, people receiving unemployment payments won't be impacted by a federal shutdown either. That's because these payments are administered through state offices. And no, the shutdown wouldn't halt Social Security income or disability insurance benefit checks. That's because, according to the U.S. Treasury Department, funding for entitlement programs like Social Security and Medicare is authorized separately from annual budget talks and considered mandatory spending. So, the Committee for a Responsible Federal Budget explains these programs continue functioning even in case of a government shutdown. However, with the possibility of workers furloughed during a government shutdown, the CRFPB says the program may be unable to issue new Social Security cards or benefits. Remember, while a shutdown could force hundreds of thousands of federal workers and contractors onto unemployment if a deal isn't reached by Saturday at midnight, members of Congress still get paid in the event of a shutdown. It's required in the Constitution. With your Verify, I'm Abby Larico.
Well, government shutdown nearing, not the only money headlines on top of mind. After the break, a look at the program that could help millions of people with student loans with repayments starting next week. And we are half a year removed from the March 31st tornado. Coming up, a closer look at some businesses' recovery 6 months later. Simone?
And it's still looking and feeling like summer out in the capital city. I have the timeline on when it might start to feel like fall coming up in 4 minutes.